Joe Biden's the man, he took the victory, he won the presidential race. Joe Biden's the man, he defeated the tyrant, can't you see it in his face? Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. Who won the presidential race? Joe Mama, Joe Papa, Joe Cousins, Joe Nephews, Joe Sisters, Joe Brothers, Joe's baby's mamas, Joe's baby's papas, Joe first wife, Joe's second wife, Joe's third wife, Joe fourth wife, Joe first husband, Joe second husband, Joe third husband, Joe fourth husband, Joe mama-in-law, Joe papa-in-law, Joe entire family, and Joe Biden, that's who. We all won the election, and on top of that, we have the very first African-American woman serving as the Vice President of the United States of America. We are surely progressing. And I understand that she's half Indian, but she's still a sister. She's still a woman of color. So let's talk about the presidential outcome. Joe Biden is pretty much being declared as the president. He just did a speech. Kamala Harris did a speech before him. And it looks like that's it. Yeah, I don't know if Donald Trump could pull a trick out of his hat or if he's going to take it up to the courts and win something. Maybe he has something up his sleeve. I don't know. But it appears that Joe Biden is going to be the president of the United States for the next 4 years. So it's going to be another 4 years of Barack Obama, only this time it's going to be under Biden. Or maybe Joe Biden is a secret Muslim and his real name is Yusuf al-Baidan or al-Baida. But it's going to be 4 years of Biden. Conservatives are obviously upset. Conservatives are expectedly enraged and upset, not just about the fact that Joe Biden is being declared the president, but about the fact that a lot of the right-wing Republican establishment didn't really help Trump and currently aren't really helping Trump all that much. A lot of conservatives are extremely pissed off about the fact that Fox News was the first to declare that Trump lost Arizona. And they brought in Mr. Arnon Mishkin, or whatever his name is, and they said, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And Arnon said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." To argue otherwise would be like arguing whether or not frogs have wings. Sorry! That's pretty much what he said. And so there is a lot of anger against Fox News. A lot of anger against Fox News. And what is this going to do? It is going to drive a lot of conservatives more towards right-wing social media, right-wing alternative media. And that's not good, by the way. That's not good. That's not good, guys. It's not. It's kind of scary, actually. Who's pushing racism, who's pushing a lot of the eugenic ideologies. A lot of this stuff is coming from underground right-wing media. I'm talking a lot of these alternative media outlets, American Renaissance, there's a whole bunch of them. The whole Andy Ngo and Molyneux crowd, the Milo Yiannopoulos types, the Jack Donovans, these types of people are viciously right-wing, and they have magnetized quite an audience. And they especially got popular when Obama was president. So when Obama was president, these types of people got very, very popular. They exploded in popularity, especially in 2014, 2015. These types of people got very popular, the Steve Bannons of the world. And think about it. Think about this. Republicans are upset that they lost, right? So far, at least that's what is being declared for now. Things may change in the next couple of months. I don't know. But it looks like, for this part, Republicans lost. And Republicans are pissed off about it. But here's the thing. Did you guys really lose? Maybe you lost the battle. But did you lose the war? Because think about it. Imagine 4 years of Biden. Imagine 4 years of Biden, this old man with dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever he has, this old man whose cognitive abilities are obviously declining, being the president for 4 years. And then on the side, you have Kamala Harris. Imagine the memes. Imagine the memes. Could you imagine? Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean, we thought Obama was meme-worthy. No. No. Obama is nothing in comparison to Biden and Kamala Harris when it comes to memes. The right wing is going to go crazy in generating memes making fun of Biden and Kamala Harris. And that is going to magnetize more and more people to the right wing narrative. So this is going to be 4 years, allowing the right wing to energize its base, just like it did when Obama was president. And, you know, people are talking about how the Republican establishment isn't really helping Trump all that much. Mitch McConnell, for example, has been quite silent about the current controversy. And there's probably a reason for that. It's probably because the Republican establishment wants Trump out of the way. They want Trump, and I have no evidence to prove this, but this is just how it appears to me. It appears to me that the Republican establishment wanted Trump to lose. I've been thinking about this these last couple of days, and this is what I have been pondering on. It appears that the Republicans wanted Trump to lose. Why? Well, if you have another 4 years of Trump, it's just going to be 4 years of another Republican president. It's going to be a second-term president who's a Republican, and it's going to be Trump, trolling people and going on Twitter and writing a lot of, provocative stuff and pissing people off. Another thing also that we have to keep in mind is how Trump was doing in regards to the EU. He was pissing off the Europeans. He was, he began to pull troops out of Germany, and that's not a good idea. I was always against it because it's going to give the Germans the excuse to say, well, the Americans don't care about our security, and it could drive the Germans closer to Russia. And that is actually the biggest fear of the United States. A lot of people think that America is just terrified of Islamic fundamentalism, and it's not. I mean, for one, we armed a lot of these Mujahideen fighters in the past, and we still do. But it's not the biggest fear of the United States. It's a monster that we helped create. America's biggest fear is a German-Russian alliance. That is actually America's number one fear. I mean, it took how many countries to defeat the German monster in the Second World War? Could you imagine a German-Russian alliance? It would be absolutely jeopardizing towards America's global hegemony. It would be catastrophic. It would be something that would indicate to the world that the next World War is coming pretty close. So the Republican establishment probably wants Trump out for these 4 years because the Democrats picked a terrible candidate. They won. Shock to me, but allow him to win. Who cares if Biden is the president for the next 4 years? Okay, you have another 4 years of Obama. Big deal. You're going to see a bunch of the same Democrat stuff. As far as foreign policy goes, it's going to be destructive just like American foreign policy usually is. I mean, under Trump, Turkey was unleashed from its fetter and allowed to invade northern Syria. So foreign policy, as far as how destructive it can be, that's not really going to change. Biden could try to reverse what Trump did in regards to the Iran deal, but who knows how that's going to turn out. Japan still hates China, and so the United States is still gonna be seeing Japan as a weapon against the Chinese. So not much is really going to change as far as foreign policy goes. And the conservatives are going to be making a lot of money under I keep saying Biden. It does kind of stick, but Republicans, conservatives are going to be making a lot of money under an Biden administration. You know, people are going to be writing books. I can imagine the titles. You know, sex. No, it would be sex, scandal, and laptops. How Biden, stole the Oval Office, and how Biden is destroying America. Like, I can just see all the books coming out. The right-wing radio is going to have a boom in popularity because, a Democrat is in office. When a Republican is in office, it's like, oh, the savior, won, so who cares? Let's just go about our lives. But once you have a Democrat in office, it's like, oh, the Antichrist is here. Oh, and then you're going to have all the pastors, talking about how Biden is the Antichrist, and they're going to be getting a lot of attention for that. People are going to be terrified about, whether or not Biden is going to take away our guns. Is he going to put us in FEMA camps? And so that fear is going to be capitalized upon by all of the right-wing pundit industry, and they're going to be making a lot of money out of it. So it's not going to be that bad for conservatives. It really isn't. And since Biden is losing it and his cognitive abilities are declining tremendously, we're going to have 4 years of material to make fun of the Democrats. We're going to have 4 years of propaganda to use against the Democrats, and it's going to energize the Republicans. Probably even more. So it's not going to be the end of the world. The Republican Party isn't going to die. Also, Republicans are beginning to win big amongst African Americans and Hispanics. And that's probably going to increase. That trend is probably going to continue on and continue to get more and more prominence. And more African Americans and Hispanics are going to join the Republican Party. And the Republicans are going to want to work on that. Under a Biden administration, they have 4 years to make propaganda against the Democrats to win more people to the Republican side. Biden is going to be a joke of a president. He's going to be boring. The whole year of 2020 has been extremely anxiety-ridden, so people are going to need entertainment. And this anxiety of 2020 isn't going to end either. It looks like COVID is going to be here for some more time. So that's not going to end. But here's the thing. The whole thing with 2020, COVID isn't going away. Coronavirus isn't going away. So think about it, Republicans. Think about it, conservatives who are so upset. I'm going to give you guys some hope here. COVID is probably going to continue on. It may get worse. Europe is already under a second lockdown. The United States is most likely going to follow through that. We could have an economic disaster akin to, or maybe even worse than, the 2007 and 2008 economic crisis that occurred under the Bush administration. Do you really want that to take place under a Republican administration? Do you really want that? If we have an economic disaster within the next few years, it would happen under Biden. And then you guys have all the material to make propaganda against him. Do you really want this COVID disaster to continue on under a Republican administration? It makes you guys look bad. So look at this 4 years, look at these next 4 years, not as some time to bitch and complain about the election and make up a bunch of stories about, how the election was stolen. Listen, if Trump doesn't win in the courts, drop it. If he wins, then he wins. But if he doesn't win, drop the subject and see these next 4 years as a time to mobilize your ranks, to make propaganda against the Democrats, and make your team look good. This is a marketing opportunity. Just like the Obama administration was the greatest duration of time for conservatives to make propaganda to bolster their position. Because that's exactly what happened under Obama. Under Obama, you had the refugee crisis in Europe, and it wasn't Obama's fault, but during his administration, You had the refugee crisis in Europe. You had a lot of Islamic terrorism taking place, ISIS, all of the terrorist attacks that took place in Europe, the terrorist attacks that took place in the United States. And it was all used as material against the Democrats, and it was very, very effective. Plus, you had the Orlando shooting, and the father of the shooter was found in a Hillary Clinton rally. Yeah, it didn't look good for her. Another thing also, Republicans keep talking about the delays in the election. Like, the Democrats kept delaying, they kept delaying, they kept delaying. The Republican Party has a hand in what took place in this election. It's not just the Democrats. The Republicans had a hand in it. If you look at the states that really mattered the most, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, in those three states, the Republican establishment, the GOP, objected to the idea of counting the votes before election night. The Republicans said, no, don't count the votes before the election. Only start counting the votes on the day of the election, So what happened? Around 160 million people voted in this election. Clogged up the post offices, clogged up our entire postal system. So then you start counting all these votes on election night. Of course it's going to take a long-ass time. So the Republicans had a hand in this. They had a hand in this delay. So the Republicans, the establishment, the GOP establishment, didn't really help Donald Trump all that much. And it could be coincidental, or it could have been deliberate. Either way, these 4 years are going to be a time of right-wing surges. That's what it's going to be. You may have some terrorist attacks happen during the Obama administration, just like they've been happening in Europe. And isn't it interesting? Not too long before election night, France had all of these terrorist attacks. Some crazy Muslim guy went into a church and beheaded some old woman. Some Chechen immigrant beheaded some high school teacher. And then in Austria, there was a shooting that took place. They shot some cops. It's interesting. And we're probably going to be having Islamic terrorist attacks during the Biden administration. And that's all going to be propaganda fodder for the Republicans. You're probably going to be having some instances of police brutality, and people are going to riot, just like what happened in the Ferguson riots under the Obama administration. And that's going to what? It's going to boost up the Republicans. And then, of course, you're going to have the hatred for the media, and that's only going to be intensifying because Fox News said, hey, Trump won Arizona, and that was before CNN called it, before MSNBC called it. I think it was even before the AP called it. So now what's the right wing going to say? We can't even trust the most right-leaning mainstream media outlet in America, Fox News. We can't trust them. So all these right-wingers are going to turn to who? They're going to turn to the Bannons and the Molyneux and the Milos. They're going to turn to these psychopaths. And they are indeed psychopaths. The Jack Donovans of the world. These people are psychopaths. They're ideological terrorists. The provocateurs, the Andy Ngos, all these types of people. They're going to be turning to these types. And it's not going to be good. It is not going to be good because it is only going to intensify that right-wing insanity, that right-wing fury, and that is going to what? Polarize the American society even more. So the decade of the 20s, not the 1920s, the 2020s. The decade of the 20s are going to be some scary-ass times, let me tell you. And if you think 2020 is crazy, wait until you hit 2024 when the next election comes around. And wait until we hit 2027. That's going to be a crazy, crazy time, man. Anyway, I think I've said enough on this subject. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.